Paul Kruger doing a waltz with the offensive tackle, it looked like, and just not getting anywhere. And they obviously weren't sending a lot of linebackers up in the middle, or let alone DBs after the quarterback. But you're right. As a consequence of that, Le'Veon Bell did not have a big day, and Antonio Brown got off a little bit. He beat Hayden at one time on a double move late in the game.
Yep.
That could have gone all the way. He ended up running out of bounds. But that was really it. I mean, both Hayden and Gilbert later and Screen even, gave up some completions to Roethlisberger like you're going to. But this team went into the late second quarter. I looked up late in the second quarter before that last drive that the Steelers had before halftime that was frustrated. Ben Roethlisberger had 16 passing yards in the game after a quarter and a half. So whatever they were doing, it was effective. The striking thing to me statistically about the game was Hoyer's numbers, which looked kind of pedestrian. 8 for 17, 8 completions in that game, and the Browns put up 31 points. That is so remarkable. But Hoyer's completions averaged 27 yards per.
Yep.
You look back at it again and you realize that there were 2 passes in the game that were not completions, but where Hoyer hit the receiver right in the hands downfield. The one to Cameron late in the game where he went up, caught it, and the DB shook the ball loose with a big hit.
Yep.
And the same thing happened to Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah, that was a nice catch too. Gabriel stretched out.
Caught a ball down the field.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to corral it, lost it when he hit the ground. That would have made Hoyer, 10 for 17 with about 260 instead of 270 instead of 217. I don't think that would have hurt his 27-yard per completion average a bit. So he's winging the ball down the field, and guys are getting wide open. We haven't seen Cleveland Browns wide receivers as wide open as this in the 15 years we've been here. Combined, the number of times we've seen it happen this season, it's just it's remarkable, and it's a testament to, as we keep repeatedly saying, the running game working. They ran the ball 68% of the time yesterday, and that's where play action comes in. That's what gets your tight end wide open down the field, where the quarterback's just trying to float it in there to make sure it's completed. I thought it was funny how Hoyer was kind of kidding Cameron after the game about how he should have led him a little bit. That way he wouldn't have got caught from behind by Brett Kiesel. But on the very first one, he said on the second one he managed to put it out there in front of him and let him get in for the touchdown. He said they were all kind of kidding Cameron about getting caught from behind by a defensive lineman. But anyway, that was a huge play in the game, and like you said, it came right after that botched snap on what would have been a second Steeler field goal, and you can't really call it a turning point. But boy, from that point on, and they went down and. You got to be excited about how things are looking now.
Yeah, they got it rolling.
My other point I wanted to make is that
real quick, that Gabriel catch you brought up, man.
Yeah,
he's a little guy. He went up and got that ball. I mean, really, the ground is the only thing that stopped him from catching that ball, because he caught it, but he took such a high fall from up in the air, flat down on his back, that it probably knocked the wind out of him, knocked the ball loose a little bit there. But man, when he went up, just the fact that he came down to the ground with it, I said, man, that kid can go up and make a catch, man. You got it.
Yeah, and the other guy that can go up and make a catch is Travis Benjamin.
Oh, Benjamin,
a few times. Talking about this group is with Hawkins and Gabriel and Benjamin. It's reminiscent of the old Redskins Smurf group of a few years ago. They're just a bunch of little guys that can all get after it. I watched the replay of the game last night when I got home, and saw the one graphic that when we had a drop, they said that was only the second drop or the third drop by a wide receiver.
Third one. My son looked at me when that stat popped up and said, Dad, did you see that? 3 drop? I said, I know. That would have been like the 4th one if they count that as a drop right there all season. The Browns averaged 3 drops a game last year. That's legit. That's not an exaggerated number. They averaged like 3 drops a game last year. Yeah,
so we've seen them all go up there, and Cameron obviously has real good hands and goes up and gets the ball at its peak, and our little Smurf guys do a lot of the same thing as those guys showed yesterday. So
you know what? Yeah, something else I wanted to bring up. You mentioned Paul Kruger, And talking about the stuff that Coach Pettin brought up after the game, and I know this is the ugly side of football that the NFL probably wishes Mike Pettin would not have brought up to the media, but Kruger was touch and go whether he was going to play yesterday. He's got back spasms, and he's got some locking up and tightness in his back. And Mike Pettin came right out after the game and said Paul Kruger had to take an epidural just to be able to play in this game. And that says a lot for him. You know, as you said, you're up in the stands watching him battle every play and do the dance with the offensive lineman, but it took a lot for him to suck it up. And like I mentioned about them guys going up to Alex Mack on their own and showing their respect for him and things like that, leading by example. I know that the cynical fans are going to be like, oh man, that stuff doesn't matter. All that matters is X's and O's and what you do. And no, that's not true. And watching a guy have to take an epidural injection of painkillers and cortisone so that he can go out there for 2 hours and be a part of the team with you when he makes how many millions of dollars. Paul Kruger could easily have said, no, I got to sit this one out. Those little things, man. And I've been very not a fan of Paul Kruger because he just didn't come. I believed he was one of those Super Bowl payoff guys that just takes that playoff run and it doubles his value, and that's what he gets on the market. And that's what kind of the way he played last year. He's played much better this season. But, man, when you watch a guy do that, how in the hell can Chris Kirksey, not that he would, he's a tough guy, but how could a Christian Kirksey or how can Joe Hayden, when he's got to take an injection in his hip to go out there and play? How does Justin Gabriel or Buster Screen, you know, those guys see that? How does Alex Mack play? Because he watched Joe Hayden do it first and said, oh, well, that's what the good ones do, so I'm going to do the same thing he did. And I thought that was a strong testament to the work ethic of Paul Kruger, for as much as people get on him for the lack of results last year, but that goes a long way. And, hey, kudos to a guy, and that says something. They're all buying into – they're not buying into Mike Pettin. They're not buying into Ray Farmer. They're buying into each other. They're all believing in each other. And I don't know if you heard me, but I know you were in the stadium. When you watched it one by one, it wasn't choreographed. It wasn't, hey, let's all go say hi to Alex Mack. It was literally, hey, wait a minute, I got to go give him some love. And everybody came out and said something to him personally, not when the truck went by. They came out to him. I said, man, this is a team. This is a real football team here.
Yeah, you're right, and we saw it there, and I don't know if you could hear it on TV, but there was an Alex Mack chant going on.
Yeah, the whole building gave him love. Yeah, that was awesome.
That was kind of cool, showing the love, and like you said, talking to John, you could tell that it affected Alex Mack emotionally. He was obviously affected by that, and it was interesting to see and great to see. I don't remember who it was. Someone after the game, you know, random tweets of a lot of writers and guys that are on the beat, and somebody that was in that Browns locker room afterwards just tweeted out a very simple tweet later. He said, something is going on in this Browns locker room. And that's all he said, and it was just, you know, he's in there after the game, and he can feel it. It's just something different. Now, I've never seen, you know, we know what happens in Cleveland when the Browns are you know, get off to a good start, and you know, people are starting to write songs, you know.
The Ballad of Brian Hoyer.
This is the only time an NFL team has ever gone from 3-2 to 6-2 without playing a game. I mean, I'm just saying, people around town are saying there's no good reason why this team shouldn't be 6-2.
That's
as
true.
Much as I can agree with that, and yes, our next three opponents are 1-16, and our next two opponents are 0-11. You know, I guess I was noticing last night, and I tweeted it out. I basically said, you know, that rarest of sentiments in Cleveland, Ohio, overconfidence. You know,
yeah,
you're starting to feel it, and you know, it's like, let's tap the brakes. You know, let's go win these games. Like you said, let's worry about Jacksonville. They're 0-6. They were looking at the start of the season at this game and saying, okay, there's one we can win. There's a W for us. The Cleveland Browns coming to our place. Because they remember they came to Cleveland Browns Stadium last year, and they were just as miserable a team last year, and they beat the Browns here.
Yep.
On a late touchdown pass in a game that never should have been that close. So, you know, let's get ready. Frankly, Jerry, I was not terribly optimistic as I'm driving into downtown yesterday for this game, because I'm thinking, oh my God, this team is decimated. Now, this team is going to play this game without Phil Taylor, without Billy Wynn, without Otava Rubin. Who's going to be on the defensive line? They end up losing another guy for the season. You're not even knowing what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. But I just had a feeling that with all the and Hayden,
and
not
Kruger,
100%, very skeptical about the Browns' ability to stop the Steelers. And boy, the replacements really did play well. Hughes played well. Kitchen played well. And maybe it was the simplified game plan that went a long way towards the success they had. But guys did step up, and the defense did not give up the big play. I don't know what the longest play from scrimmage was, but it might have been that little 25 or 30-yard double move by Antonio Brown. But
I think so.
They limited the damage, and boy, it was sure nice to win one going away.
Absolutely, and I'm going to go back to what I said. I can't remember. Was it Lawrence Timmons? I didn't write down which player said it. I think it may have been Timmons, but there was a couple in the locker room. When the word out of the locker room by multiple players is, that's the best team we've played so far this season. That says something, man. I mean, the Steelers, I'm telling you, but like you said, there's just something different. Plain and simple, man. Whatever the ceiling on that is, I'm not going to get in the argument with people of how much that, I don't know. Do they win 6 games, 8 games, 10 games? Do they go to the playoffs? Do they win the Super Bowl? I don't know, man. But this is, I keep saying it, I should put this on a t-shirt before somebody else does. This is not your children's Browns. It's the reverse of the old saying, but it's because we had it good and then it went to bad instead of the other way around, This is not your children's Browns team right here. No way, no how.
Yeah, you're right. There is something different, and like we said, some of the national heads are starting to pop up and say, okay. As Peter King said in his column, you are now permitted to get excited, Cleveland.
Yes,
that was one of the headings in his article today. Talking about Hoyer and the Pettin thing. He's very complimentary of Pettin, and says that. Maybe the biggest question that's going to grow as a story as the season goes along is Brian Hoyer's free agency.
Oh, we know that. We know that.
It's going to be more and more talked about. And
it's the reverse of Justin Masterson syndrome. Sorry, it's the reverse of Masterson syndrome. He watched the dollars fly out the window during this season. Literally every week, Brian Hoyer he's borrowing Johnny Manziel's money phone so that he can stack up money phones all over the place. Invisible money phones that are going to turn real when this season's over because he's just watching his value increase with each week of the season.
Yeah, that's true. Every time he plays and it takes another snap, his wallet gets fatter. And one other thing Peter King said, I just quote from this article, he says, it's going to take some getting used to. This Browns looking like a respectable NFL franchise. So,
for all of us. For all of us.
Yeah, right, exactly. we don't know how to act. And people were walking out of that place yesterday, like you say, what's a 2-game win streak look like? We're not used to this. So it is going to take some getting used to.
Hey, man, have you ever beat the Steelers by 20-something? No? Man, what do we do? Are we supposed to laugh at them? Do we help them to their car? Like, how does this work here, man? Aren't we the ones usually walking out like this?
I got to tell you, and as much as I understand the hatred for the Steelers, I never knew. I mean, I kind of like Pittsburgh as a city. Once I went and visited there, it's kind of a cool town. But because I was born and bred to hate Pittsburgh, and it was all because of the Steelers ever since, Turkey Jones planted Terry Bradshaw's head in the turf at Cleveland Stadium. But I got to say, and I don't mean to diss on the Cleveland fans, but I'll tell you, there was 1 million people downtown yesterday tailgating, and let's just be honest about it, drinking heavily before the game. And there was a lot of hammered people that were walking up 9th Street away from the Muni lot as I was walking down 9th Street to go into the stadium. And there were not all that many Steeler people wearing the Steeler garb, walking our way with tickets for the game. But they were getting abused badly. I mean, it's the classic, you see a guy in a Steeler shirt and you immediately go into the a-hole chant, okay? And, I'm not a big fan of the a-hole chant. I think it's, crude. And least of all, somebody does something on the field, fine. But, because you're wearing a Steelers jersey year one, no, I don't think so. I'm standing there watching